Segment 10 nikud 2 nikud dalet. Zabeach azabeach alafim. Zabeach azabeach alafim. This segment will resemble others in that it moves forward with the skill of assessing expressions that may contribute to reconciliation. In addition, we'll practice identifying what sort of an offense may have given rise to a given expression of reconciliation. You'll be asked to take several steps as you encounter a davar shalom in this particular activity. To begin with, karana davar shalom. Next, ketov, your translation of that davar shalom, in the space that you'll find tachat each Hebrew sentence. And you'll find the first entry has already been completed. Shalosh, evaluate the effectiveness of each davar shalom. Some of the statements that you'll find would not help a relationship. If that's the case, go to the column that's headed Tov o Ra and simply write the letter Reish, indicating Ra. If, on the other hand, a statement seems helpful, in that same column, write the letter Tet for Tov. From time to time, you'll encounter within a given davar shalom a shoresh. It will be encased in brackets, and it will be followed by an intended translation, a gloss, which in turn will be followed by a blank line. Here's an example from davar shalom beit. You can see that the shoresh encased in brackets is kasa. The meaning that's needed to complete the davar shalom will be we will cover. Your task is to generate that form from the shoresh kasa. Let's look at it in the lower portion of the page, right within the context of the davar shalom. So we see statement beit, et dam achicha asher shafachnu, and now we are needing a form of the verb kasa, meaning to cover. It needs to be first common plural, we, and it needs to be yiktol, since it's designated by the gloss to be future, we will. The information is also provided that this must be the PL in order to generate the meaning cover. Returning to the upper portion of the page, you can see that the needed form then would be nechaseh, nechaseh. You would write this in the blank and then continue with the statement. Oto, v'shachachta ki ganavnu et kaspo. Let's read the entire statement with the assistance of the generated form nechaseh. Et dam achicha asher shafachnu nechaseh oto. V'shachachta ki ganavnu et kaspo. Two additional steps, namely step chamesh and sheish, will appear following the list of divrei shalom. These steps will explain how to use the column on the left that's labeled pesha, meaning offense or transgression. The far left column labeled theme will be reserved for use in segment 10 nikud 2 nikud he. To strengthen our grasp of PL verbs in the yiktol conjugation, several of the statements below employ PL verbs with weak consonants. So that we'll be more comfortable reading those, let's take time at this point to explore how PL verbs in the yiktol are formed when they have weak consonants. We'll turn now to the closing paragraphs of this particular segment. For that information, please go to the heading PL Spelling Tips for Weak Verbs. Afterward, we'll return to read through these reconciliation messages and the list of peshaim. Here is the information concerning PL spelling tips for weak verbs, and we're concentrating on the yiktol conjugation. This information is located at the close of segment Eser Nikud Shtaim Nikud Dalet. First, the case of third Yod-He verbs, a PL verb in the Yictol conjugation that happens to be third Yod-He will display a segol after the second radical. This is appearing in the place where we would expect a tzere. So notice, for example, the customary tzere in the form neshalem, the tzere after the lamed. If instead we were working with the third Yod-He of that same form, notice the segol in nechaseh. In the next segment, Eser Nikud Shtaim Nikud He, you will find a snapshot of Kaf Samech Yod-He in the PL Yictol conjugation fully displayed for you. Next, consider the PL of second guttural or second resh verbs. As with the Katal conjugation of these PL verbs, so now with the Yictol conjugation, we will discover that the guttural or the resh will resist the PL's dagesh, and the lack of that dagesh will do one of two things. Either it will leave the customary preceding patach vowel unchanged, or it will strengthen the preceding patach vowel, converting it to a kametz. The unchanged we see exemplified in terachem. Notice the patach under the resh, terachem. The strengthened patach we see exemplified in tevarech. Notice that under the beit we find a kametz, not the customary patach vowel. These two cases, third Yod-He and second guttural or resh verbs, are among the more common of the weak PL verbs that we'll encounter. Let's go now to the appendix for this section to explore a few more. Here's the appendix entry for segment Eser Nikud Shtaim Nikud Dalet. 4 categories will be presented here. PL Yictol verbs that are third guttural, third aleph, hollow, or geminate. With third guttural verbs such as shalach and zavach, we find a patach following the second radical. Consequently, notice the form ashalach, I will send away. A patach following the second radical, in this case a lamed. With verbs that are third aleph, we notice in the PL a segol instead of a tzere following the second radical in these particular forms, second and third feminine plural. So consider the form timalena, and focus on the segol following the second radical. Let's read over the PL Yictol conjugation, first for third guttural, illustrated by shalach, and then for third aleph, illustrated by malah. Ashalach, teshalach, teshalachi, yeshalach, teshalach, neshalach, teshalachu, teshalachna, yeshalachu, teshalachna. And now malah. Amale, temale, temalei, yemale, temale, nemale, temalau, temalena, yemalau, temalena. As noted earlier, the form serving as PL for geminate verbs and hollow verbs is known as polel. Here is the Yictol conjugation for the geminate verb savav and also for the hollow verb rum. First savav in the Yictol. Asovev, tesovev, tesovavi, yesovev, tesovev, nesovev, tesovavu, tesovevna, yesovavu, tesovevna. And now polel for room in the yectol conjugation. Aromem, teromem, teromami, yeromem, teromem, neromem, teromamu, teromemna, yeromamu, teromemna. Now let's resume with the main portion of the textbook, segment Eser Nikud Shtaim Nikud Dalet. Divrei Shalom, Aleph. Halo terachem aleinu, va'anachnu shibarnu et markavotecha, ki ata melech rachum v'chanun. In the column Tov Ora, we see the letter Resh has been filled in, indicating the assessment of this particular Davar Shalom as an ineffective way to mend a relationship. The column labeled Pesha has been filled in with selection number 7 that issues from the collection of Peshaim that we'll encounter later. We'll go ahead and read it at this time, although reserve the explanation of it for later. Rechov b'markava lebilti sheol. The column labeled Theme has been filled in. However, you don't need to worry about this column until a later activity. The translation block at the bottom of this Davar Shalom has been filled in. The translation block in future Divrei Shalom will be left blank so that you may fill it in. Beit. This form includes a fill-in. At that point, we will simply read the shoresh. It will be up to you to generate the appropriate form of that shoresh. Et dam achicha asher shafachnu, shoresh kasa, oto v'shachachta ki ganavnu et kaspo. Gimel. Ben bakar rach azabeach, uvona beveiti le'echol, v'nochla mimenu, va'al nedabera od, divrei sinaa. Dalet. Ani matzati et avadecha basadeh, va'ane otam bamoserot. Hey. Ani chashavti machashavot ra'ot, shoresh tama, et haaretz b'shofki dam naki. Vav, et banayech asher lakachti otam mi beitech, shoresh shalach. Zayin, ozreni, ve'al shoresh achar, ki dibarti elecha chuzavim, va'elached be'imrei fi. Chet, hilachti im harshaim, ki dibru elai lemor, hine nemale et batenu shalal, asher nikach oto minnaki. Sana et avoni, ki gadol hu. Now we are ready for step Chamesh. Please notice the table that's labeled Peshaim. To begin with, Ketovna, the translation for each Pesha. Use the space beneath the given Pesha to record your translation. Notice that Pesha Sheva has been done for you as an example. Let's read over these Peshaim. Achat, Genov ish, Genov ish. Shtaim, Daber milchama, Daber milchama. Shalosh, Daber kuzavim, Daber kuzavim. Arba, Harog Adam, Harog Adam. Chamesh, Kachat Kesef lo lach, Kachat Kesef lo lach. Shesh, Kachat Shalal minaki. Kachat shalal minaki. Sheva rechov bamerkava lebilti sheol. Rechov bamerkava lebilti sheol. Shmone. Sum adam b'mishmar. Sum adam b'mishmar. Finally, in step Sheish, please review each of the Divrei Shalom that was presented earlier in this segment. For each one of them, then please select one of the Peshaim that might reasonably give rise to someone expressing a particular Devar Shalom. In the column labeled Pesha, please write the number of the particular Pesha which you find best associates with a given Devar Shalom. Please use a given Pesha only once. The first Devar Shalom has been completed for you. Since it involves apologizing for some mishap involving wrecking some chariots, it seems that Pesha Sheva best fits with Devar Shalom Aleph, since that Pesha indicates some offense which similarly involved chariots.